everyone, to Desert Valley Blitz. This is our Coach's Corner episode, and today we're really excited, right, Coach Josh?
Yep. Welcome.
We got a star in our coaching community, and we're really excited to talk to him and talk to him about his career and his path to being, the great coach that he is today, Mr. Bill Johnson from CV High School. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Now we got to kind of run down your list of accolades before we start talking to you. I mean, 4-time DVL champion. You've been basically running that league for the last 5 years. I mean, that your coaching tree has grown. Your coaches are starting to make their way out of your program and really go into other programs and have success as well. So that's a mark of a true coach. So we're really excited to have you in here and kind of hear about your story and how you got to be the great coach that you are today.
I appreciate it. That's kind words. I appreciate it.
How did you get started in coaching?
Well, when I decided to become an educator and start teaching, I kind of made a pledge to myself where I was played football in high school. It was a big part of my life. It was a big part of my that time in my life and motivating me and helping me get through challenging times when I was a teenager. So when I decided I was going to work with teenagers and be a teacher in high school, I thought, this is something I would like to get back to. I'd like to work with young people who are passionate about sports and passionate specifically about football. And so, I kind of tucked that in the back of my mind. And when I got a position teaching at Coachella Valley High School in 2011, the athletic director at the time was Marty Holguin. And, I talked to him, had conversations with him. And I remember the first day I got there because I didn't start at the beginning of the year. I started in November because I got the job and they needed somebody at that point. So I got in there, had a couple of days, literally 2 days, and she's the activities director at the time now. But at the time, she was a teacher coach and was working with me as a math teacher at the time, Renee Vargas. She's a CV alum, and she said to me, "Hey, are you going to the Bell game?" And I said, "The Bell game? What's a Bell game?" I had no idea what this thing was.
You were new to the Valley.
I was new to the Valley.
New to the Valley scene at that point.
I had coming from out of town. So it's 2011. It's November 2011, and she says, you gotta check this thing out. And I was like, okay. So I go. It was at Indio that year. So I go over to Indio High School, and the place is packed. One team is 1-8, the other team's 0-9, and the place is packed.
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
This is something, and the passion and the energy, it was really something to see, and it was impressive because it was just the energy on both sides, the Indio energy, the CV energy. Both teams had really rough years, but didn't matter. That game was meaningful.
Yeah. That was their Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that was
generations in the stand that played in that game. We're watching and their grandkids are playing against each other. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the type of information I kind of people started to kind of school me on the significance and the history of it, and I started to kind of do my own research and learning about how many years this has been going on and it's been back and forth. And Indio at that time, I think it had the Bell had won the Bell game most of the previous years at the time. It was.
When I was growing up, I remember Indio winning most of those battles.
Yeah. And so sometime, fast forward a few months later, we were getting towards the off season, and I knew I was going to stay at Coachella Valley High School as a teacher, and I wanted to get involved in coaching. The AD at the time came and talked to me and said, "Hey, why don't you talk to the head coach and see if there's an opportunity to help out?" So I did that, and I got hired on as a freshman assistant, and things really started to roll from there. It's been a crazy journey since.
Started as a freshman.
I did. Yeah. I was a freshman assistant, and for about a month, and then the freshman head coach at the time, something came up. There was something that made them have to kind of step away, and so I was the teacher on the freshman staff. So they turned to me and said, "Hey, you're the freshman head coach now."
Wow, just like that, promoted.
It was like
promotion.
Okay. Yeah, about a month in, so. We did all right. We had somewhere close to 500 season, I think, that year.
Jumping in, that's just success.
Diving in, it was we were 3-4 or something like that. I think we had some games canceled, some other games. I'd have to look back at it, but I remember just the passion. I remember the Indio game that year. I remember just getting to know the football community in a breakneck speed at the time. And
Yeah.
the very next year, I became so that was the 2012 season. The very next year, I became the JV head coach. The head coach was the same at the time, and we had a up and down season. Then after that season, that's when Coach Brett Davis took over the program and brought the run and shoot in. And I remember at the time, just getting to meet him and learn about his background and things like that. And we had a lot of good conversations about just school and football in general, and particular offense. But he's a offensive guru and very strong at what he does. And so we spent many hours talking about football and on the board and talking about stuff. And I learned a lot from him.
Sounds like a good time, man.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was an incredible period of working together to take the CV program at the time. There was an 0-10 season. There was a 3-7 season. I think there was a 4-6 season, and then Coach Davis came in and just kind of working from the ground up, getting more kids involved in the program, structuring practices, just changing the expectation, changing the look and feel of what CV football was, while being very embracive of, hey, the reason why we're doing this is because of the great traditions of CV. And Coachella Valley football has such an amazing history that I've learned about more and more as I've gone on. Just recently, I was looking through history of the school and reading about the very first CV football game on October 10th, 1930.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. That's some history right there. So
Yeah.
we're coming up on 100 years of CV
We are coming
football?
up on 100 years, gentlemen, of CV football.
Wow. You guys
That's
going to do anything
incredible.
to document that? You got to talk to the AD, man. That's only a couple years away.
There has to be something
has to
great,
be
Yeah.
and
something.
especially if you think about, I've looked forward and said, in 2030, that day is definitely during football season, and it's a Thursday night, so you can play on the anniversary if we get it right.
That is awesome, man.
The game was against Banning.
Really?
So you could even
You'd
schedule
schedule
Banning.
Banning to come
There's a
down
chance
here.
to actually
Banning.
play Banning on that year, 100 years later.
Let's get to work, people.
So-
let's
We
make
gotta
that
make that
happen,
happen.
man. We got to athletic directors. We got to make that happen, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's a special history. You're talking about when you're talking about CV football. So getting a chance to be a part of the turnaround at the program and seeing us go from where we were and when I first started to where we got to in 2017. CV won its first league championship. It was a De Anza championship at that time, but it was the first league title since the late 1970s. It was 1977 was the last time previous.
Wow.
So that was a great
Jeez.
breakthrough. And since then, we've
40
won
years,
it.
man.
Yeah. Every
Wow.
year we've won it every year since
It's amazing.
except for 2019, Yucca got us that year, and then in 2023, Yucca got us there too. So we've had great battles with that school.
Right. But so I remember when you guys took over, because I was still coaching at Indio, and football was like an afterthought to soccer, and like every other sport was more important at your school besides football. Football was kind of like an afterthought. So what do you attribute, because all of us coaches want to know, what do you attribute that turnaround to? That's not. Coaches have tried to change
Yes.
culture and
Pretty dramatic
and go
turnaround.
go into like a losing program and thinking they can solve it, but you guys actually did it. What do you attribute some of the factors that you could that worked for you guys?
Yeah, I always tell the student athletes now. I tell them, don't take this for granted, because I was coaching in a time when it was very difficult and things and there are patches. Programs go through difficult times.
We've all
takes
been there.
it takes something special to turn them around when they have those difficult stretches. And so I always tell the student athletes, I always tell the players, hey, don't take this for granted. The people who came before you, the players that came before you, earned it and they maintained it, and now it's been passed to you. So so you have to kind of keep that level of energy. What changed it? I think. First and foremost, I think bringing in an exciting new offense was big. When Brett Davis brought in the run and shoot offense, that offense, it fit the athletes that we had.
Which is important.
We had speed, we had agility. We had
Soccer.
Right. We have a community that where soccer is influential, whether they're playing soccer now or they just played it when they were younger, what have you. So many of our student athletes have touched soccer in some way.
It's so good.
But just that sensibility, those instincts, those type of those athletic components of speed, agility. You know, and you're talking about a spread concept with a lot of passing, so you need those receivers, and so you know we realized as soon as that we brought that offense in and students started coming out and checking it out and joining the program, our numbers grew. A lot of kids, and that was the first thing. You know,
They were buying in.
Yeah, kids wanted to play.
Yeah,
That was big. Kids wanted to play,
And
they
you
wanted to play
attribute that to the offense that you guys are running to get more kids out there?
In part, I
Okay.
think that was one of the pieces of it. You know what I mean? Was that we were doing something exciting. I think you know, I think there was just a new energy of joy of the game. That was huge. You know what I mean? You know, we were having fun playing football, and we were having fun practicing football. You know, we had to make. You know, there are a lot of culture changes that have kind of gone over the course of it. You know, I think we started practicing more efficiently and effectively, and that's a big thing too.
That is
That's
big.
You have to have a plan every practice. You can't go into a practice with maybe I'll do that. No,
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
hate
come
that.
into play.
I hate that.
They
Man.
bleed away. That
Yeah.
time just goes out the
You'll
window
just
if you don't use
get
it
nothing
correctly.
done.
No, you
Gotta
gotta
have it.
move. You're gonna have 2 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes, whatever you got out there, whatever time you're spending. You have to be very structured and organized. Each practice has to have a goal. Each session has to have an objective. So what are we doing for this 15 minutes? And what are we doing for this 20 minutes? What are we doing for this 15 minutes? What is the goal for this period of time? And it needs to be achieved. And that we shifted to that focus on let's make sure the whole practice has a goal. It has an offensive goal. It has a
that's so
defensive
important.
goal.
Yeah.
Every session has a goal. Every this piece has a goal. This piece has a goal. This piece, and make sure that we are effective so that we use that 15 minutes. We're not sitting there talking for 10 of it, and the kids are working for 5 of it. You know, you're coaching as we go, and so you know we just became a better practicing.
There's a real art to
program.
that, just designing a practice plan and sticking to it, and that takes a lot of skill because I've seen a lot of coaches not do that so well. You know? So.
Yeah, it's big, and I think for me, my philosophy as a coach, making sure that I like to plan the week before we start a practice week. Okay, so if we know, all right, so we have El Centro this week, so so before I go to bed tonight, there will be a plan for every practice this week, and that practice will be distributed to the coaches. And so, all right, so now we get into the week and maybe we learn something new, we see something new, we have our coaches meeting, whatever. Okay, we want to tweak this, we want to change this session, we want to address something over here then we can make a change, you know what I mean? And then send the change out. But there's always a plan in place.
As the coaches are ready for when the week comes, they're already ready for it.
They can look through it and say, okay, we're hitting this, we're hitting this, we're hitting this, we're hitting this.
They'll have their plans ready. And, I love that.
That's huge. I mean, I think that I would say that that is as important of a change as bringing in an exciting offense was big. It got young people excited to come play. They're seeing plays like they saw, like they watch a game that happens on Saturday. Oh, I see stuff like that. They can watch a team that's throwing the ball around. It's exciting football. So that energized, I think, our school community. But in terms of really making those changes as far as competitiveness, how well do we put a product on the field? Those practices and how we approach practice has been huge.
That's big.
Another thing that I think that has been a big thing for us is and you have to it has to be worked towards, and it's a challenge. But we do have a lot of players, and that. So that we're able to have an offensive and a defensive unit, and I had that
heard that.
when I was a young person back playing high school football in Virginia. I went to a school where we did play, where I was playing offense and I didn't play defense. I played offense, special teams. I was a kick returner, I was a punt blocker, and I was a wing back in the wing T. And then when we spread out, I'd go to receiver. And so, but the disadvantage of that, you have to have the developmental process within your program to develop the student athletes to be able to play. And it's not always going to be perfect. We do have players that play both sides of the ball, or play one side full time, the other side situational. There's all that. As a staff, we have to come up with that as part of how we game plan a week, as part of how we develop players. But we, by creating that type of rotation, it allows us to make the most of our conditioning and to make the most of our athleticism as well. So, our offensive unit practices simultaneneously with our defensive unit.
So you go one-on-ones and ones versus ones in practice
We
all
can.
the time?
No, not we'll do it more as in the summer and then we
tailor it back a
tailor
little
it
bit.
as we get into the season and as we go through it.
But they're always working. If they're defense, they're always working defense.
Defense is
every
always
day,
working
so
defense.
There's no
offense
coach fight.
day.
so
There's
awesome,
no defense
man.
day.
Yeah, or
there's
you got
no-
this much time.
Yeah, well, you have
That's
this with
pretty
this,
big.
and then
If you can do that, that's awesome.
That's
yeah,
huge.
and it's sometimes it's not going to be 100%. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
when it comes down to it, you've got to put together the best team. But that's what preseason is for. Give guys a chance to get in there and show what they can do. And as we see, we have to make changes, make adjustments. An offensive player needs to play some defense player needs to play some offense.
Yeah.
It also allows us to put strength on special teams. So you don't have that offense, defense, special teams player that never comes off the field.
Yeah.
Those players are rare and they can do it. But if you don't have to do it, then there's a decision you get to make as a coach.
Especially towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
You got a lot of fresh kids still ready to play.
Yeah,
so,
your legs are fresher. So, just some of the things that helped. That the question was, how was the turnaround? How did we turn it around? Those are a couple of the philosophies that went into place.
What year would you say that you could actually start platooning? Because I know, like, initially you probably didn't have the numbers to go defense versus offense, or did you have those numbers?
You know what?
Don't you have to kind of build to that as a program?
You do have to build to that. So we were coming from a place where we had some seasons that were tough and challenging at the time, and we had a number of players come out, and Coach Davis's philosophy was very offense oriented, right? So a lot of the players, we did platoon pretty fast, you know what I mean? And at that time, there was a lot of emphasis on getting the offense up and running, and then
Best guys run offense.
They took all the good guys. Huh?
yeah, that was
You left us defensive guys with nobody.
Yeah,
man. It was
so-
JV guys.
yeah.
Man.
Well,
Jeez.
not to that extreme, but there was an offense first mentality when a philosophy that Coach Davis brought in. That was his
he put a
philosophy. He was the
punch.
head coach, and he applied it. That's what he did. When I took over, we had that for a bit, and to me, I think the future of us taking our work to the next level is balance. And so we want to, through our process of development, we want to make sure we're developing a defensive side and an offensive side, and we'll see that competitiveness in practice. And I think we've achieved that. I think we've had some they don't get the credit in the paper as much, but we've had some strong defensive players and strong defensive units and defensive performances. And in 2023, we made a semifinal run. It was the first run to the semifinals at CV since 1968, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a big run for us and a big moment for us, and I think it spoke to some of that we're always still continuing to try to evolve the culture for the better.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So what, in this day of like instant gratification, having done it, how long should people expect for a coach to come in and actually turn a program around? I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, and you've done it. So, I mean, I've always heard like different things. You got to give them 2 years. You got to give them 3 years. What, in your opinion, how long should you give a new head coach? If he's coming in and taking over a program that maybe not up to par.
I think it's hard to say an exact number of years. I think you have to kind of put together a sense of growth and goals. I think if you're an athletic director and you're working with a new head coach, and hey, what are the goals for the first year? What are the goals for the second year? What are the goals for the third year? And how are you, because ultimately you're going to start with a collection of new players that are coming into the system, and they're going to be developing under the new ideas, the new ideologies, the new philosophies. So just knowing that, okay, what are those intermittent goals that are going to get us from point A to point D? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A to B first, B to C second, C to D third. So, I think it's hard to put a number on it. I think it's about, making sure that there are specific goals about, hey, this is what I envision for this. And it's not just about wins and losses. For me, when I was an assistant coach under Coach Davis, one of the biggest focuses and the things that I worked on was eligibility and academics within the program. Because one of the things that plagued CV in the days when when it was challenging to kind of be competitive on the field is we would have some students come in early in their career and they would do well, but then the academics would fall apart and then you'd never see them again. And so instead of being able to kind of get a group of students that come in as freshmen and develop them to sophomore, to junior, to senior year, you didn't have that type of continuity. So, they would come in and fall off, and then what happens is you're filling in gaps with students that
Last minute, yeah.
that may not have played before, even though they're
Yeah.
seniors, and that's difficult when you're going against a team or a program where a freshman class has grown all the way through.
Yeah.
When they won the league title in 2017, that was the senior year for Armando Denise's class when he was at CV.
Okay.
And that group came in as freshmen, and they moved forward together. By the time we got to that group coming in, we had started to implement study halls. We had started to implement close monitoring of student athlete progress in the classroom, and that was something that was a project of mine because I had worked with these young guys. I was an avid teacher at the time as well, and I did not want to see us fall because our players couldn't finish the race. They couldn't. They came in and showed potential, but they couldn't develop because they couldn't play. So a huge part, again, to answering the question of what was the turnaround. There's practice, scheme, excitement in terms of culture, but also eligibility.
Yeah.
Students. We had classes of students. The group we just graduated was a great example with Mikey Rodriguez and Derek Calderon and Sebastian Arriaga and Hector Figueroa and Aaron Ramirez.
I mean,
You're talking about that group came in together and stayed together. And they're not just the skill and the athleticism that they brought to the table, and obviously they did bring that to the table, but they also brought their unity and their perseverance. And over the course of those years, they continued to grow and grow together. When you lose pieces and things fall apart along the way, it's hard to keep that continuity. It's hard to replace those talents.
Right. It's just, you're right, though. I've seen it in my own coaching career at Indio. We have some players, but never 4 year, only 2 years, and then you lose them the junior year, and they come back, and it was not the same. So you guys, I mean, that's a pretty big piece, I would say.
It's a huge piece,
really, especially for a program that's kind of on the up and coming and trying to compete with these bigger programs. So
winning helps too. When
well,
you start winning,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece, right, Coach? I mean, winning beget.
It all leads to it, of course.
Yeah, it all kind of feeds off of each other, but when the students see the success going, they, hey, I want to be a part of that. And so that helps obviously a great deal. But that comes when you make those type of positive changes, when your schemes become sound, when your practices are structured and they're effective, the product gets out there, then students come in and they stay in the program. And our staff is very focused on teaching, not just, okay, well, let me find whoever the best athlete is and just focus all the attention on them. No, that's not how you win. You have to have, and I've coached multiple sports, not just football, and you see over the season after season of various sports that you can build around this player, but you have to have a team. You have to have not just one great receiver, but you have to have effective receivers across the board in a spread. You have your quarterback; it's got to be ready. You got to have a quarterback that's ready to go if that quarterback has to step out. You have to build depth over time, and that's huge. And a big part of that is students being able to get in the program and stay in the program. Now, look, we've had situations, not perfect. We've had guys that might play their freshman year and then their sophomore year, they trip up at the end of their freshman year in terms of grades. And then their sophomore year, they can't play. We've seen that happen. And then they rally back. But the thing is, we try to keep in touch with those guys. I'm like, hey, you made a mistake. Mistakes get made, but it's not over yet. Get back to the classroom. Get it right this time. Get back into the program. And you do feel it that they come back and it's now they've got to get back into it. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it'll be their first year playing varsity, what have you. They played frosh soph or JV when they left, or were freshmen when they left. But they come back, but they still get back into that culture of training, get their skills back up, and they're ready to go. A lot of times by their senior year, we have a number of those type of athletes that may have missed one of the years along the way, but 3 is better than 2 or 1.
Absolutely.
And we see that.
Well, without a good football team, they would have been lost forever, though. So, I mean, at least it keeps them in school, keeps them on the straight and narrow. And I love high school football
Yeah.
or just sports because of that.
Yeah.
So.
Keeps kids on the right path a lot of
Yeah,
times. So
absolutely.
shout out to you for putting that in, though, Coach. That's needed. I think a lot of these programs need somebody to come in and do that academic work first. To get the football program right, you got to have the academic program right.
Yeah.
So
it's
that's an awesome program that you kind of created there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But so going kind of switching gears a little bit. So before the 4 championships, Coach, I remember probably mid 2010s when Davis kind of got the job over there, and you guys kind of came in. The run and shoot offense was a bit of a abnormal offense to see on the high school scene. I remember preparing for it, going, "Geez, these 4 wides, these trips, and all these, empty sets, and all these things. Like, how can they survive? How's their quarterback going to survive a season?" That was kind of the knock on you guys. And but like fast forward 10, 15 years later, I mean, you got a lot of copycats out there that are running your system now because of the success. So. How did you kind of see that you're an offensive guy, so how did you see that kind of that philosophy and that whole mentality kind of change from when you guys were kind of the abnormal offense to now, everybody's running that thing?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's always been about a belief in the student athletes that we have and our players and the kids in the community that can come and play football. The first thing that happened, when they comes in and people like you said, they were like, how in the world is CV going to do this? You know what I mean? How in the world are they going to, how is this going to work? This can't be, it just seemed like it wasn't football enough.
Yeah.
It was like,
I want 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's
the grit and the, okay. Well, and I remember that talk and the beautiful thing is the players work really hard at what we do. It's not something that just step out and a lot of kids that come out of the programs that we'll have a student that come out their sophomore year, maybe they didn't play their freshman year, they come out their sophomore year, that looked really fun. They realize how much work it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, whoa. Yeah. And you have to kind of teach, hey, welcome to this. You know what I mean? This is a championship program. This is a program with high expectations. This is what we do here. It takes a lot of work to get right. And so, welcome aboard, but get to work. I think what was interesting is when we first started, the first run and shoot quarterback we had was Darius Holsey. And Darius he was a quarterback his junior and senior year. And he played at COD for a bit too. When Darius graduated, he was a big guy. And remember Darius Holsey was 6 whatever, and he looked like a tight end. He was a big guy. He was a big old guy, and people, but he had a huge arm. I mean, he could spin it down the field. I mean, his deep ball was ridiculous. And then Darius graduated, and they're like, oh, well, that's done now.
Yeah.
That's over, right?
It's over now.
That offense is done.
That offense is done because they just happened to have Darius. And, and I've had many conversations over the year with Darius, a great guy. I mean, he's just represented CV wonderfully in the time when he was the quarterback and afterwards when he was playing at COD. And but he graduated, and that's high school football. Guys move on, and they go to that next level, next man up. Well, the next man up was Armando Diniz, who is still the CV all-time leader in passing yards. You know what I mean? So he came in and brought his athleticism to it. He was different from Darius.
Good ball,
you know what I mean? Threw a great ball. Dual threat quarterback, did very well. I remember an article in a paper saying, I literally think I saw there was an article that says something like, well, you more look at him and think maybe he's a cross-country runner than a football player. It's something ridiculous, like as though just doubting what he could do. But it wasn't just about him. It was about the coaching, the system, and the work that we put in at CV. And he had very successful years, and then he graduated, and the next guy came up.
You guys do a good job of quarterbacks. I mean, every year you guys have someone new pop up, and
somebody you never heard of going for 400 yards.
Quarterback's
the
not
first
easy.
week.
That's a hard spot to play, and you guys coach it up well there.
Yes, well, appreciate it. That's my passion, and I coach the quarterbacks at this time. You see, that's the position that I focus on, and everybody's a little bit different. Darius had his skill set. Armando had his skill set, and Donnie Fitzgerald had his skill set. Jacob Calderon has his skill set. Then Hugo Sandoval comes along, he has his skill set. Then Derek Calderon, Jacob's brother, comes along. Derek has his skill set, and now it's Ivan Garza, who's a totally different skill set. So, Garvis this is his first year as the starter. He started at receiver last year as a sophomore. Now he's a junior. He is doing a good job. His dual threat had He has had 60 yards rushing in the game Friday night, and they were effective stuff. He ran in 3 2-point conversions. He's finding his voice, as it were, with in terms of how does he play the game? What's unique to him? What's his playing style? And he's finding it effectively. And we're all still a work in progress at this point. But we're embracing the challenge of building into what we will become. Yeah.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
That offense. I mean, if the highest form of flattery is copycatting, right, or trying to implement it themselves.
See it everywhere now.
And I mean, you look at a high school scene, and it's the old CV. It's the
I
old
love
CV offense now. Everybody's running that thing.
I actually love how many times you go into empty. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. I mean, you got quads over here. All of a sudden, it's breaking all your rolls on the coverage, and you guys mix it up with the wide receiver screens, and it's fun stuff, man.
Yeah, we have a good time with it, and I think I know that there are other schools, and like I said, there are coaches that have coached with us that are coaching in other schools and utilizing the system and putting their own exploring their own spin on it and their own kind of stamp on it, and that's how it should be.
Right.
I don't have the same approach to the run and shoot as Brett Davis did, even though I studied under him. And he and I still talk often. He's coaching at Verrado High School out in Arizona now.
Oh, awesome.
And we'll sometimes talk some shop, what I mean? And
like the old days.
There's still some shop talk, and but my approach is different from his, and then somebody who might have coached under both of us, who's now coaching it in another program, they're going to have their own kind of approach to it, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. It's not a one-dimensional offense. It is multi-dimensional. There's the run game, the passing game, the screen game, the various things that you can do with regards to formation, things like that, while still keeping athletes spread out. Obviously, I don't have to say.
Yeah.
I obviously love it because I've been doing it. And I think at CV, what I appreciate, and I was telling some of my offensive coaches this past week, or week before, we have. As a CV, this offense and this approach has really passed the test of time because we've been running this since 2014, and we are still on it. And we are still scoring, and we still are putting up success. Yeah, we're still putting up offensive numbers, and we're still having success. We still have receivers that are seeing success, and quarterbacks and running backs, and so we make whatever changes and dips that need to be made each and every year based on new personnel and just a new feel and different things. And I credit the staff for working with me and continuing to evolve it in a way that it does pass and stand the test of time. Sometimes I joke with Coach Davis because he's coached a couple of different places since he left CV, and I took over, and the funny thing is, it gets to a new spot and they've never seen it before, and they've got to adapt to it. Yeah. Everybody knows what CV does. You know what I mean? When I took over for him, everyone knows that we know that offense. We know what we're dealing with CV, and we still have been effective. We've still been able to find ways to show that it's not just some sort of flash in the pan, as they said back in 2014.
You got an answer for everything that someone can throw at you. So
it's 2025, and
still running.
We're still running it, and still running effectively, and still hungry to be even better with it. We never get satisfied.
Well, I mean, the proof's there, man. I'm glad I don't have to prepare for your offense anymore, Coach, because you guys give multiple looks, multiple sets, a lot of stuff you got to deal with on the defensive side to even slow you guys down. I don't even think you approach that game as a defensive coordinator saying we're going to shut them out. It's just let's slow them down a little bit and see if we can, beat them at their own game and score some points. So shout out to you guys. You guys have been doing it a long time. That's you're a legend in this valley for that, and that offense is killer. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. We're kind of running up against time here, Coach, in the Coach's Corner, but we always like to ask our guests, what advice would you give? Because this is a community show. We want young and old coaches to kind of check us out. And
I want to learn.
Exactly, we all want to learn. But what advice would you give to an up and coming coach or somebody that's a player that may be thinking about coaching? And what advice would you give that person?
A great question. First thing, be willing to study. A lot of times, we can get tripped up by what we think we know when we really don't know as much as we think we know. Even when we come into the game, humble up and study the game. Study. Learn from the moments that didn't go the way that you wanted it to.
Because it will happen.
Because it will happen. It will happen. And be a student of the game, regardless of how old you are, how young you are. I just celebrated my 50th birthday. I'm still a student. Thank you. I'm still loving learning. You know what I mean? And I'm still self-evaluating and working on this aspect of my own understanding, what I'm seeing of, if I see a defense I've seen before, or seen something that's a little different from what I've seen before, I embrace it as an opportunity to learn. And I think any coach coming into the game has to be a learner. The next thing is when you're working under coaches, you're not going to agree with everything that they say. You're not going to agree with everything about their philosophy. There are plenty of things that Brett Davis and I didn't agree on, but we worked together and I learned from him. And so you got to be able to learn from guys who've done the work and learn from whatever they have to offer and teach. And you might learn things that I'd do things this way. Or if I had it, I would do it a different way, what have you. But be a learner in terms of, get a chance to learn from the coaches you're working with. And some of the guys, I've got coaches on my staff, like myself, I've been coaching since 2012 season, but there are coaches on the staff like Hondo Canella and others that have been coaching for a long time, you know what I mean? And they've got, Alex Escobel's on my staff. He's got a great, rich understanding of on the defensive side and what he does. He's a great defensive coordinator and done a lot of good work, and I enjoy working with him. And so when young coaches come in to the program, I encourage them, learn from these guys. You know what I mean? That's part of life. That's part of humanity. When you're young coming into something, or new coming into something, and there are those around you that have had experiences, whatever experience they've had, learn from it. That would be the second major thing I would say. Be ready, study on your own, and be a sponge to the guys that are working with you. If you're working with some good experienced coaches, learn as much as you can from them while you're working with them.
Be a sponge.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, you're a legend in this community, man. We really appreciate you coming out and sharing some knowledge with us here on the DV Blitz. And we're going to be out there supporting the Arabs, even though I am a Raja. I always pull for the desert team. So if you're not playing Indio, I'm rooting for the mighty Arabs.
Fantastic.
Man.
I appreciate that.
So thanks for coming in, man. We appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. It's great. Great conversation.
So if you guys found some value in that, the routine, like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you next time on DV Blitz. Looking to upgrade your home? Tile Designs by Fina is your one-stop destination for beautiful flooring, hard surfaces, and countertops. From timeless design, modern styles, they've got the perfect look for every room. Stop by today and transform your space with Tile Designs by Fina. Let's design together. Tired of payroll headaches? iPay Solutions is your local payroll and HR partner right here in the Coachella Valley. From direct deposits to compliance, we handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. iPay Solutions, local, reliable, and built for your success.
Got dirty carpets, tile, or furniture? Trust the Carpet and Tile Care Company, your family-run experts. We bring sparkle back to your home with top-notch cleaning services, reliable, affordable, and eco-friendly. Call us today. We can be reached at carpetcare.co. Phone number 760-773-5882.